The lake looks peaceful. There's no warning of what is about to come. The earth doesn't shake. There's no explosion, no roaring fire, no towering plume of ash. Yet something insidious emerges from its depths. In a flash, it happens. A colossal fountain of water and foam erupts from the lake, shooting over 300 feet into the air. A tsunami-like wave, at least 82 feet tall, crashes onto the shore, uprooting trees and flattening huts. But far more deadly is what comes next. By sunrise, entire villages will be wiped out, their inhabitants found lifeless in their beds, on the roads and in the fields, with no visible wounds, no signs of struggle. It will look as if death itself had swept through like a silent, suffocating shadow. A massive, invisible force has claimed the lives of nearly 1,800 people and thousands of animals in mere minutes. What caused this nightmare? The answer lies in the lake itself, and in a terrifying phenomenon so rare that it has only been recorded twice in human history. This is the story of the limnic eruption of Lake Nyos, a disaster so strange it sounds like science fiction, except it was all too real.
August 22nd, 1986. Dawn breaks over Lake Nyos. The sun rises over the Cameroonian highlands, painting the sky in soft gold and pink. The light shimmers above a massive lake that stretches across several valleys, far beyond what the eye can see. A light breeze rustles through the grass. To any outsider looking down from the hills, it might seem like just another morning in this quiet corner of northwest Cameroon. But something is terribly wrong. As daylight spreads across the valley, the terrible truth emerges. The village of Nyos lies still, too still. No smoke rises from morning fires. No children laugh on their way to fetch water. No cattle low in their pens. The only sound is the wind, carrying with it an eerie, unnatural silence. Then, the first signs appear. A lone bicycle lies toppled on a dirt path, its rider sprawled beside it, lifeless. No roosters crow, no dogs bark. The cattle that should be lowing for their morning feed stand motionless in their pens, their legs locked rigid in death. Flies already swarm over a goat collapsed mid-chew, its mouth still full of uneaten grass. Through open doorways, families can be seen lying together on sleeping mats, their faces peaceful, blankets still tucked around children who will never wake. Breakfast pots sit cold on unlit fires. A radio plays static to an audience of corpses. Inside huts, entire families lie as if asleep, but they do not wake. The villagers around the lake don't wake up. And then, there is the lake itself. Where its waters were once a deep, clear blue, they now swirl a murky, unsettling red. Dead fish float, belly up along the shore, their gills flared wide as if gasping for air that wasn't there. A heron lies crumpled on the rocks, its wings outstretched as though it had plummeted mid-flight. Even the insects are gone. No buzzing mosquitoes, no skittering water striders, breaking the lake's unnatural stillness. Trees at the water's edge have been ripped from the ground, their roots clawing at the sky like desperate fingers. The crimson waters softly bubble, as if attempting to reveal a deeply hidden secret. A disaster has struck. But there were no screams, no panic, no time to run. The killer came silently in the night, not with fire or flood, but with something invisible. A force so strange that even now, as the first outsiders approach the scene, no one can yet understand what truly happened here. One thing is certain, this is no ordinary morning, and the mystery of what wiped out nearly 1,800 people and more than 3,500 animals in a single night is only beginning to unravel. The first suspect was the unassuming water body across the valley, Lake Nyos. Lake Nyos doesn't look like a killer. Nestled like a blue eye in the rugged volcanic highlands of Cameroon's northwest region, it sits 700 meters above sea level in a near-perfect circular crater. The water spans just 1.5 kilometers across, small enough to swim on a calm day, yet plunges 208 meters deep at its center, holding over 15 million cubic meters of water. This is no ordinary lake. The basin was born from fire, not water. About 400 years ago, a volcanic explosion blasted this crater into the Oku volcanic field, part of the larger Cameroon volcanic line that stretches to the Atlantic coast. Rainwater gradually filled the depression, creating what scientists call a maar, a deceptively peaceful volcanic lake with a violent past. But the true danger lies beneath. At these depths, the water becomes a pressurized tomb for volcanic gases seeping up from the Earth's mantle. Carbon dioxide, the same harmless gas in soda bubbles, accumulates in staggering quantities here, trapped by the weight of the water above. In 1986, Lake Nyos held enough CO2 to fill 10,000 Olympic swimming pools. The lake's elevation makes this especially deadly. Situated high above surrounding villages, any released gas would flow downhill like an invisible flood. The very geography that makes the region fertile farmland, the steep valleys, the bowl-like crater, transforms Nyos into a death trap when the Earth decides to exhale. Scientists would later calculate that the lake's lethal potential renews every 10 to 30 years as gases recharge. On that August night, the sleeping giant didn't just wake, it sighed. And that sigh erased entire villages from existence. Scientists scrambled to understand what caused this disaster, digging deep into the waters of Lake Nyos to find the answer to one question: what caused the disaster? After numerous careful studies, they soon realized the answer to what happened to the villagers and their livestock lies far beneath the waters of the innocent-looking water body. They uncover that Lake Nyos is a time bomb capable of annihilating all that are within its explosion zone. The scientists uncover that far below the surface, Lake Nyos holds extremely high and lethal amounts of dissolved carbon dioxide, CO2. It is one of the 3 lakes in the whole world, and all 3 located in Africa, that hold such gases. The other 2 are Lake Monoun, also in Cameroon, and Lake Kivu in East Africa. The high volumes of CO2 within the lake beds are capable of yielding one of the most rare and worst natural disasters, a limnic eruption. A limnic eruption is nature's cruelest magic trick. A lake transforming into a killer without warning, without fire, without a single ripple betraying its violence until it's too late. It begins in the depths, where water pressurizes volcanic gases like a shaken champagne bottle. As the pressurized water rises, the gas expands, violently. Instead of water blasting skyward, a column of froth and gas exploded from the lake's surface at highway speeds, punching into the night air. The force generates a tsunami that strips trees from the shoreline. But the real horror emerges as the CO2 loses its watery prison. Where oxygen molecules should have been, only carbon dioxide remained. The cloud doesn't burn, doesn't poison. It simply replaces breathable air with nothingness. Within minutes, every living thing in its path drowns on dry land. It is a catastrophe. In the case of Lake Nyos, nearly a cubic kilometer of carbon dioxide had dissolved into its lower layers over centuries, invisible, odorless, waiting. Then, on August 21st, 1986, the lake's delicate balance shattered. What is it that shattered the balance that had remained in place for decades? Scientists still debate the trigger, Perhaps a landslide tumbled into the water, disturbing the layers like a spoon stirring honey. Or maybe a small volcanic burp from the lake bed released just enough gas to start the cascade. Whatever the cause, the effect was catastrophic. The deep, CO2-saturated water suddenly surged upward. Between 100,000 and 300,000 tons of CO2 burst from the lake in a single, suffocating cloud. The water turned red as iron from the depths of the lake, oxidized and left a chilling, bloody sign of the tragedy this eruption would cause. Since carbon dioxide is heavier than air, it doesn't rise, it flows. Like an invisible flood, the gas pours down the valleys, hugging the ground like an avalanche, moving at speeds of up to 100 kilometers per hour. Within minutes, the cloud engulfed the villages of Nyos, Kam, Char, and Subom. People don't even have time to scream. The gas displaced oxygen, and anyone caught in its path simply stopped breathing. Those asleep never wake up. Others collapsed mid-step, their lungs burning, their bodies starved of air. Livestock dropped dead where they stood. Birds fell from the sky. When rescuers finally arrived, the scene was apocalyptic. Corpses littered the landscape, some with strange reddish stains on their skin, others with foam around their mouths. Reporters compare it to the aftermath of a neutron bomb. Buildings intact, but no signs of life. Following the revelation of the causes of the Lake Nyos disaster, one question was left on everyone's lips. Could this disaster have been prevented? 2 years before Lake Nyos unleashed its silent fury, another lake in Cameroon gave a chilling preview of the horrors to come. But the world wasn't listening. On August 15, 1984, near the quiet farming communities surrounding Lake Monoun, a disaster struck with eerie similarities to what would later happen at Nyos. At around 11:30 p.m., a loud explosion echoed across the valley. Witnesses described a violent bubbling in the lake, followed by a strange mist-like cloud rolling over the land. By morning, 37 people were dead, their bodies scattered along the roads, faces frozen in agony. Cows, goats, and birds lay lifeless where they fell. The victims had suffocated where they stood, their lungs starved of oxygen. At first, authorities were baffled. Some suspected terrorist attacks or chemical weapons. Others blamed evil spirits. The truth was far more terrifying and tragically overlooked. Scientists later confirmed that Lake Monoun had experienced a small-scale limnic eruption, releasing a lethal burst of CO2. This was a silent rehearsal for Nyos. Perhaps if the disaster on Lake Monoun had been taken more seriously, maybe the one on Lake Nyos might have been prevented. After the tragedy, scientists face a critical question. Could this happen again? The answer is yes, unless something is done. By 2001, an ambitious solution had been put in place: degassing pipes. These giant straw-like tubes are plunged into the lake, allowing CO2 to escape slowly over time, instead of all at once in a massive limnic eruption. The first pipe works so well that 2 more were added in 2011, and by 2019, scientists confirmed the lake is stable, no longer a sleeping giant. Yet another question lingers. Could it happen somewhere else? The Lake Nyos disaster puts other CO2-rich lakes under scrutiny, especially Lake Kivu. Kivu straddles the border between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. With waters that cover an area of more than 2,700 square kilometers, Lake Kivu is almost 2,000 times larger than Lake Nyos. Kivu not only contains a lot more CO2 than Nyos, but also has flammable methane. Additionally, Kivu is located at a higher elevation near the Virunga Mountains, some of which are active volcanoes. Thus, if a limnic eruption were to occur on Lake Kivu, the consequences could be catastrophic. Millions of lives at risk. The good news is that scientists are keenly aware of this risk and are always watching it for any signs of danger, while also taking the necessary precautions to avoid another disaster, such as the one that killed entire villages in Cameroon. Today, the villages around Nyos have been rebuilt. But survivors still remember that terrible night. The disaster remains a chilling reminder of Earth's hidden dangers and how science can help us fight back. So the next time you see a calm, beautiful lake, remember, beneath its serene surface, unseen forces may be lurking. And sometimes, the deadliest threats are the ones we never see coming.
Thanks for watching today's episode of Timbuktu Tales. Like, share and subscribe to watch more of such amazing tales from Africa. And hey, don't forget to hit that notification bell to always get updates on new episodes every week. Are there any stories you would like us to work on? Feel free to share your ideas in the comments section below.